Good evening, greetings. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Matt.
You're listening to Pillow Talk on Hatch Plus, so put away your phone and join our nightly slumber party where we always get to bed right on time.
Kristen, what's up? What's your Hatch aura for the day?
Oh my gosh, my Hatch aura is so cozy and so glowy right now. It's kind of that color that's halfway between orange and a warm red. Feels like the sun is coming down from the sky to take a nap, and I'm going to go right along with it. So it's pretty soothing, pretty warm, feeling good. What about you, Matt?
That description was genuinely as relaxing as the actual aura on Hatch. I really enjoyed that. Less eloquently put, but mine is somewhere around that sort of greeny blue, pretty chilled.
Ooh.
I spent the afternoon at a garden centre, which really, really relaxed me because it started raining. So I had where it's sort of like a shed with a glass ceiling, but outside furniture, but inside. And it started raining. So it felt like being inside one of those soundscapes, which has fully got me ready for bed, to be honest.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. I just want to set up a hammock right amongst those plants there underneath that glass ceiling.
That would have been ideal, actually, yeah.
You'll have to just sneak one in next time you're at that garden center. Well, Matt, I hope you're ready to zen out with some knowledge because tonight we're doing one of my favorite late night activities, which is falling deep, deep, deep down into an online rabbit hole.
Yes. So we're going to look up the last things that we searched for online and try and learn a thing or two, or just follow some random links until our heads hit the pillow. So I'll start. The last thing that I searched for, and this is heavily influenced by the fact that I spent the afternoon in a garden centre, there was a lemon tree next to where I was sat, and this kid came running up to it with his mum and was asking all about lemons. I thought, actually, that's a pretty good set of questions, that.
Wow.
I feel like at the age of 33, I should know a bit more about lemons. So that's where I started.
Oh, I love that you started there. You know, I remember as a little kid, the first time I saw a lemon tree, I couldn't believe it was real. I grew up in Minnesota. We didn't naturally have lemon trees there. And seeing a lemon tree actually at a garden center, I thought, I can't believe I'm seeing fruit grow on a tree. I'd never seen that before.
There is something amazing about that, isn't there?
There really is. One thing I was used to growing up in Minnesota was, carrots, rhubarb, things that grew out of the earth in that sense, but not citrus fruit on trees. The only fruit I really remember growing on trees in Minnesota was apple trees.
We've actually, I've got an apple tree. And I've always wanted, because I still don't know whether they're cooking apples or normal apples. I don't know how to tell because I didn't plant it.
Let's look up the difference between the two. Yeah, what is a cooking apple and why is it different? Well, here's what I just found out. The apples that are best for cooking are Honeycrisp, Jonah Gold, Pink Lady, Brayburn, and Matsu, which is funny because when I was growing up, I remember my grandmother telling me the best apples for cooking with were Granny Smith, which aren't even on this list that I'm looking at.
Yes, I thought that as well. And also I eat Pink Lady apples normally. So I don't understand what the difference would be between a cooking apple and a normal apple, if that's the...
Well, let's look it up. What makes an apple good for cooking? All right. Cooking apples are generally larger and can be more tart than other varieties. Some varieties have a very firm flesh that does not break down much when cooking. And culinary varieties with a high acid content produce froth when cooked, which is desirable for some recipes.
Right. The tartness of it, like you said, I thought that would be the main factor in a cooking apple.
Yeah, like the Granny Smith, because it doesn't just taste like straight sugar when it's cooked then, right?
Yes. Where are you on cider, Kristen? You a cider drinker?
Oh, I love cider. Are you talking alcoholic cider or non-alcoholic cider?
What's your go-to?
In the autumn, I like a non-alcoholic cider while standing around a bonfire and maybe eating an apple cider donut at the same time. What about you? Do you do that
Nice.
where you're from, Matt? Do you have the bonfire apple cider experience?
I don't think the two are specifically linked. There's a few things where I live that we have a kind of history with, sort of cider, because it's quite a rural place, but we're also famous for custard. We
Ooh.
make custard, or used to make custard here.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
pretty fascinating.
I feel like we should look up custard and explain to those who don't know what custard is, what it is exactly.
Yes, we should absolutely get the word out. So basically, it's a rich, creamy dessert made from eggs, milk, sugar, and flavouring, thickened by the coagulation of egg protein due to heat, which doesn't sound that appetizing, but it is. But it's apparently it goes all the way back to the Middle Ages and is a cornerstone of French and British cuisine.
Oh, that makes sense.
So not so much America by the looks.
Yeah, I feel like in America, custard was not something we had very often. However, we would at brunch time have something that is almost the same as custard, just not sweetened, called hollandaise sauce. Did you have hollandaise sauce?
Is that Eggs Benedict hollandaise?
Yes, that's right. Eggs Benedict. Yes.
So would you equate that with custard hollandaise? I would see that as more of a savoury thing than
Yes.
a custard more of a sort of sweet.
Agreed, but I
kind of
think they
thing.
have almost all the same ingredients in them. Let's look up what's in hollandaise sauce. Yes, okay, so I just looked it up. Hollandaise sauce is a mixture of egg yolk, melted butter, and lemon juice seasoned with salt and occasionally white pepper or cayenne pepper, best known for its pairing with eggs Benedict or with vegetables such as steamed asparagus. But yeah, that's a lot of the same ingredients as custard, right?
It's very, very close. Apparently the first hollandaise sauce was in 1651
Wow.
in La Cuisine Francoise in Normandy in France, which is... Have you ever been to Normandy, Kristen?
You know, I may have been when I was quite a bit younger, and I knew it was a historically important place, but I think I may have been too young to really register why it was beautiful, why people like to go there.
I know exactly what you mean. I must have had so many moments like that as a kid, especially in England, because sort of the go-to is castles and all that kind of thing, like historically really important, but more than anything, it was just a day off school.
Yes.
Never really registered what it was. It could have been, a theme park.
I think a lot of amazing things are lost on children because we're fixated on different sorts of magic in the world. Like, I remember taking my niece and nephew to a historic place, and the best part of the day for them was looking at an ant pile, for example. And they just talked about those ants all day, like, oh, that was the best part of the day was the ant pile. And I think
Wow.
for a lot of little kids, that's how we are. We'll be taken to Normandy to go to the castle, but the thing we'll be most excited about was seeing a seashell on the beach instead.
Yes. It must be really frustrating as a parent that when you've spent out for a trip like that, you could have just stayed in the garden.
Did you visit Normandy as a young person also?
Not that young, actually. I think I first went probably about 10 years ago. The sort of go-to for us was, and this will be a good search actually, Warwick Castle, which isn't too far away from where I am. Have you ever done any sort of, like the castles and medieval places like that in the UK?
I have done a lot of castles, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I can't remember the differences between all of the different castles. The ones that I remember best are actually probably the ones in Austria and Germany, like Neuschwanstein Castle, the one that is so over the top, and that supposedly the Disneyland Cinderella Castle is modeled on Neuschwanstein. So I remember those castles better. And of course, Edinburgh Castle.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love Edinburgh Castle. So there are some castles I remember very well, and others that I'm so sorry to say all kind of blend in together because I think I saw way too many of them close together on my first tour of Europe, where it's like, here's 18 castles in 1 week, and they started to blend together.
There's no shame in that at all. They do all look pretty similar. I do think that Austrian one is fascinating, and that I was going to go to that next with my search to find out more about that So it's 19th century on the rugged hill of the foothills of the Alps in the very south of Germany.
Yes. And it's very, very beautiful. From some angles, it really does look like that Cinderella castle of the Disneyland universe.
Yeah, it does.
Honestly, from some other angles, it looks a little bit like a nice hotel.
The more I look at it, the more I do want to go.
It's definitely one of those places where it's the opposite of minimalism. It just is so over the top and enjoyable in a way where I can see any kid would love it. And a lot of grown-ups might find it tacky.
I think that's the same with loads. Even now you see stuff like that, don't you? When you see like super yachts and stuff that have gold leaf menus on the, that cost about $3,000 just sat around on the desks and stuff. It's opulence for the sake of opulence, isn't it?
Yes, but as little kids, it might have been the most beautiful thing in the world.
And also, let's face it, if you were King Ludwig II of Bavaria, you've got the means to do it, you probably would have a palace like that.
Yeah, what else are you going to do all day? You're probably bored, like, I'm going to really just get into home decorating, right?
Yeah, why not? What else? In fact, what else did he have going on? He was known as the fairy tale king, Ludwig II.
Oh my god.
Or the Mad King, which really is. I know which one I'd prefer if I were Ludwig.
I just love that he was the fairy tale king and then his castle became the prototype for Disneyland. Isn't that kind of a full circle moment? Did you like fairy tales growing up, Matt?
I know the big hitters. That's where I am with. So when I was a kid, you watch the cartoon sort of Cinderellas and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm not that entrenched in it. How about you?
Oh, I loved fairy tales as a little kid. I loved the idea of somebody who maybe is overlooked or downtrodden, and then she still gets chosen in the end by the prince. I think part of it was I loved the idea of good over evil, because the princesses who always won at the end of those fairy tales, they actually had really good hearts.
What do you reckon the top fairy tale of all time is? I don't know how that would be ranked or what it would be based on.
Well,
but it's worth a look.
I feel like Cinderella in the US ranks very, very high, but I think the first one that was a blockbuster movie was really Snow White in the US. And so both of those are stories really of a girl who has an evil stepmom and a prince comes and rescues her. But Snow White, she also lives with these dwarves who I think are coal miners. Looking back, I'm not really sure what the dwarves were mining every day. Were they mining diamonds? I'm going to look this up. I want to find out what the dwarves were mining.
It could be anything. It could be cobalt for batteries or...
salt.
Could be. Lemons. That would be a nice full circle. They were mining for lemons the whole time.
Okay, so I just looked up the 7 dwarfs' jobs, and it says they dug for diamonds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know what? If they were mining for diamonds, they should have been living in a castle themselves, right?
That's capitalism for you, isn't it? It's not ideal. Where is it set in the world? It doesn't strike me as the kind of place where there would be diamonds in a forest.
Yeah, that is a good point. I don't know if diamonds are normally in an enchanted forest. We're going to look this up right now. Germany, specifically the Black Forest.
Okay.
Close to Bavaria?
Oh, so we're in the same sort of ballpark as the castle then?
Yes.
Is that right?
We're going all the way back to Neuschwanstein Castle, yes.
Interesting. But they don't speak German. Oh, no. I did a year. I got my 365-day streak on Duolingo for German. And then there was the European Championships football tournament held in Germany last year. And me and a load of friends went over for one of the England games. And I spent a good 2 minutes trying to say in German to this sort of woman in a van selling hot dogs in German, could I have sausage and chips, please? And she just couldn't, for the life of her, understand. And then she just said, could you please ask in English? I said, oh okay. I really tried, though.
I love that you put in that much effort into it. When I've tried Duolingo, I usually give up pretty quickly. And then the poor little bird icon looks like it's suffering quite badly, saying, come back to me, come back to me.
They know what they're doing with it. The guilt that I feel is
Yes.
just horrific. So I have to go on and just do the bare minimum every day just to keep this bird alive.
The poor bird. Oh, just a second. Back to fairy tales for a second. I just found something. So, you know Jack and the Beanstalk?
Absolutely, yeah.
Apparently, Jack and the Beanstalk was rooted in a group of stories classified as the boy who stole ogres' treasures that could be traced back to when Eastern and Western Indo-European languages split. That was more than 5,000 years ago. So while the different languages were being developed to torture us on Duolingo, all of these stories were evolving of boys stealing treasures from ogres.
Where I wonder what the subtext was at that time. Like, it must have been some sort of metaphor, mustn't it? To try and kind of keep young boys in check.
It's us versus them. They're the bad guys over there, but they have more than us. So I know you're going to want what they have, but don't go there because they're bad people. And they speak that other version of our language. So that's me speculating with absolutely no knowledge of what the truth is.
I think it's got to be something along those lines, hasn't it?
It speaks also just to the idea of trying to teach children not to envy what others have too, even if they're not on the other side of the language divide.
If this is an interesting one as well, I've just found here. Apparently there was a folk tale called The Smith and the Devil, which is estimated to date back 6,000 years to the Bronze Age.
Wow.
So I don't know if this is, maybe there's a modern version of this, but the story, which involves a blacksmith selling his soul in a pact with the devil in order to gain supernatural ability, then tricked the evil power. It's not so well known today, but it's a theme of Forstchen pact is familiar to many. Yeah, so I guess the essence of the story has been done.
Oh, and there have been so many versions of that story since then.
Is it like 3 types of story? Or 3 or 4? There's like a very finite amount of stories, like as we recognise them. And you can link every film and every book back to one of 3 or 4 sort of.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that many times. Wow. There are 7 basic plots, according to somebody named Christopher Booker. So he says there's 7 basic plots. And I believe, I think it might have been Shakespeare, but I might be misremembering, who said every story ends in either a wedding or a funeral, in its own version of a wedding or a funeral.
Oh, that's good.
Which I've always found fascinating, especially as a lover of teen movies, because so many teen movies end in the prom and it's like, oh, that's the wedding.
That's really interesting. I'd never considered that before. And where do you stand on Shakespeare? Are you a fan?
I really like the modern reinterpretations of Shakespeare. So
Yes.
I love West Side Story, for example, which is Romeo and Juliet. But how do you feel about Shakespeare, Matt? Is that sacrilege for me to say to you? You as
No, not. I'm all for that attitude. I have to, because I only live probably about 40 minutes from Shakespeare's house.
Oh, really?
Or Anne Hathaway's house, actually, I think.
Oh, you live in a beautiful part of the world. I've been there before. It's stunning.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it is absolutely lovely. I don't think Shakespeare ever came down my street. But, yeah, I don't know where I stand with him, to be honest. I've obviously studied him in school, and I feel like that's a bad time to be introduced to someone, you know, because it's kind of forced upon you.
Yes. And the language, at least for me as a little kid, or not even as a little kid in high school, a lot of it was just hard for me to grasp. Like, is this actually English? What is he saying here? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well.
So, speaking of Shakespeare, here's a fun fact I just came across. A letter written to the New York Times in 1906 claims that Shakespeare coined the usage of the word lemon as an insult. For example, calling a car a lemon.
I did not know that. I also didn't know lemon was an insult, but it's always good to add another one to the back catalogue.
Oh,
just in
yes.
case.
It's definitely a term used in the US to refer to a car that's a junker. Look at that lemon. And I don't want to have to drive a lemon like that. But wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love that you are from the land of Shakespeare and don't know this insult, even though this insult supposedly comes from right around your corner.
Yeah, I do know some of his more well-known insults, but, it's a family show.
And we also just have to note that wrapping this up with lemon brings us back to the lemon tree that we started with.
That is a great full circle. What a good find.
Well, Matt, I am getting really sleepy, and I think it's time to turn out the lights.
Me too. That was great fun. Thank you very much for your help on the lemons.
Well, good night, Matt. Sweet dreams to you.
Night, Kristen.